Hey everybody, this is Jeremy Dunham, Editor-in-Chief of the IGN PlayStation team. I'm actually really excited to talk to you today because we get to talk Tekken-Dark-Resurrection. And not only is this one of the best PSP games yet made, it is also the best PSP fighter, period. The reason it's so good is not necessarily because of a depth of features or some kind of technical achievement, which of course it has both of in spades, but because it does everything so well and it comes from a core gameplay that really can't be matched. Now, if you're unfamiliar, Tekken Dark Resurrection actually started as an expansion to the arcade version of Tekken 5. It added a bunch of new stages, some new characters, a couple little graphical tweaks, interface changes. All that's actually in the PSP version too, and that's what makes it cool. But on top of that, there are a number of new PSP-only features that are really cool, and things that I think every PSP fighter, let alone any PSP game with multiplayer, should include in the future. Of course, you've got Tekken Bowling, which they brought back from Tekken Tag. You've got Gold Rush, which is a kind of neat little way to earn money for your characters. And then you can take that money and you can actually customize your character to be more interesting, a little bit more unique, and kind of specify them to be more indicative of your own personality and fighting style. But more importantly, the developers haven't forgotten that people want to play each other one-on-one. And that's what this game does exceptionally well. Not only can you play each other ad hoc using 2 UMDs or 1, yes, there's game sharing, but you can actually upload digital representations of yourself onto the internet and have your friends download it to play on their own. And that's what's called Ghost Mode. It's actually a really interesting feature where they can record a representation of yourself and then you can pass it along to your friends. Great idea. I'd love to see this more in the future in other fighting games. And keep in mind that you can have all the gameplay features in the world that you want, but if the gameplay itself isn't any good, it doesn't really matter. But that's where Tekken Dark Resurrection really excels, in that it comes from a base of strong gameplay. This is one of those type of fighters that doesn't necessarily require an expertise to play it. Anyone can pick it up, pick a character, and go at it. Or you can spend the time to learn all the different moves of 30-plus characters, really get to know them, and exploit that to the fullest. And when you see 2 experts going at it in Tekken, you can see that this is definitely a game that promotes skill, promotes fast reflexes and strategy, and that's really what makes a fighter a good game. Not necessarily an abundance of modes and cool graphical features, but the fact that you can go in there and play it and learn something every time out. So what's wrong with it? Because there's no such thing as a perfect game. There's got to be some kind of problem. And yes, there are a few little issues. Most of it actually relates to the PSP itself because of the way the system is designed. It's actually a little hard to pull off some of the more complicated maneuvers, especially with characters like King and Armor King and more grapple-heavy characters, because of the way the directional pad responds. Even so, once you get the hang of the difference between a PSP digital pad and an arcade stick or a PS2 controller, you'll really kind of understand what it is that you have to do slightly differently, and it becomes much more natural after a few hours. The other problem is really more of a technical issue with the way the graphics look. As beautiful as the game is, and trust me, it is beautiful, it has a few refresh problems on the screen, and that's really more the PSP's technology than the game itself. Things are happening so fast that sometimes the screen can't keep up, and it causes a strange ghosting mode that happens whenever you do some of the quicker moves, especially with characters like Law or Harang. But I have to be honest, other than those few little hitches, there really isn't too many problems with Tekken Dark Resurrection. It's a great game for anybody of any skill level to pick up and play, be they expert, moderate, or even a beginner. You can go into the game, you can enjoy 30-plus characters, plus 2 new ones, all the game modes that I've already mentioned, and a host of other ones that you have to discover on your own. Plus, you can customize your own character, you can game share, play with 2 UMDs. There's so many things you can do here, it's hard not to recommend this to you, no matter who you are, and the only thing I can tell you before I go is you owe it to yourself to play this game, and you should do it right now.